star hair clip ready in just 5 minutes. Prepare your yarn and let's DIY together. Start with a magic ring. Chain 2 stitches. The starting chain does not count as a stitch. Work half double crochets, HDC into the ring. Beginners can place a stitch marker in the first stitch. Make a total of 10 HDC into the ring. Place a stitch marker in the last stitch as well. Tighten the ring. Slip stitch into the first stitch to join the round. The slip stitch at the end of each round does not count as a stitch. For round 2, chain 1 stitch. In the first stitch, work a single crochet, SC. Beginners can place stitch markers at the beginning and end of each round. In the second stitch, work 1 HDC. Work 1 double crochet, DC. Chain 1 stitch. Work 1 treble crochet, TR. Chain 1 stitch. Work 1 DC. Work 1 HDC. This completes 1 pattern repeat. Repeat this pattern 5 times in total. Each pattern repeat occupies 2 stitches. Slip stitch into the first stitch to join the round. Leave a tail of yarn and cut the yarn. Use a yarn needle to weave in the ends and secure. Make 2 pieces and attach them together. Attach the completed star to a hair clip.